they flew over, look similar to potatoes. The small hill that was made up of these steps, there was 20 steps, and 100 meters wide. The tractors were not making any noise, only a low hum. He said it was driven by solar power, supposedly electric. The living houses were then placed on hills, rocky places, because where it was possible to produce food, it had to be utilized. Later they flew over flocks of grassing buffalo kinds of animals, but these were twice as big and only one horn, of half a meter. Arthur had never flown on a plane back on Earth. It was an impressive sight to see all this, also from above. They passed big mountains, and when he later saw pictures of high flying from Earth, he recognized it. But they also flew over a city, which looked to be on a mountain. It was built on just a mountain, out of the need for space as said before, and up there, they could not place a farm. On this mountain were also the biggest mines for solar steel, so there was also a lot of production going on in or around this mountain city. When we flew over its center, its ends were lost from sight, and it was built completely on top of rocky mountains. There were hills like the Sugarloaf in Rio. Then they landed in this mountain city and ate a meal there, while his host seemed to be well known for those people. He also then remarked that their custom was to only pray before eating when in private, like home, and where many were gathered, they prayed inside only instead, out of practical reasons. Then he was taken to an enormous factory where the solar steel was created. He said it looked like an airfield. There were thousands of similar ships there that were flying, hovering and parking. I asked why is it that they only arrive, and almost none are leaving. Because it's almost time to start work. But, who are those who arrive in those ships? Are they all workers? Yes, except for some who live nearby, all come by these ships. Are you saying that all who work here are rich? Since one of those ships must be very expensive. No, they do not cost. And here being an Acartian citizen and a worker, is enough to have a right to one. I don't understand, but you will before you return to Earth. Then he says that he was not able to understand the processes that he saw in the super factory. All what I saw in the factory, could only be done if I were an engineer, scientist, designer or other expert. But he tries to give some descriptions, and those technical who are interested, would have a good time in reading all these many details about this automatic factory and its production in the book. In that factory they also produced flying saucers, and he was given an explanation on how they operate in the atmosphere, and in space. There they also made laser-like weapons, which made our weapons to nothing, but they warned against the atom bomb. This was the time when the military army was very strong. He also told him some of how the system of the power source of the ships worked. Visit to an astronomic observatory with also defense use and functions. Then he was taken to atop a mountain, where he saw a tube-like funnel reaching 200 meters up and they landed there but it was terribly cold, and Arthur said that he was very tired at that time. By way of this equipment, he was shown a view of Earth. But those observatories had also the opportunity to shoot neutralizer beams into space onto any hostile incoming ship from eventually aggressors. So these observatories were placed around the planet like a net as a defense system. Later they arrived at Acart's home, where they said good night, but Arthur woke up early the next day. Remember the nights was abnormally long, 17 hours to be exact, compared to what he was used to. He went out to the terrace and watched from the balcony of the city lights at night, but it was very cold outside, but he had to see this sight. The next day, they flew to a holiday center at the coast, where they landed on the rooftop of a very long block building along the coast, which reminded him of the Wall of China when he saw it from high up. but it's much bigger and 20 kilometers long, but it was a continuous blocks along this coast. It was 100 meters width, and 500 meters from the seashore. A lot of ships arrived together with them. On the other side of this long wall, was another city. When they left their ships open, Arthur had not yet habituated to the money-free situation there, as he expressed concern for leaving the craft unlocked. There they also ate in a bar where he says he went in a room with perhaps 1,000 tables. There he again remarked that nobody seemed to pay for the food. After that, we went to the trees and sat down comfortably on some stools similar to chairs that rotated. I put my hands behind my head and we remained there for some minutes. But in that calm moment, I commenced to reflect and I saw in my mind an infinity of things that I was still unable to explain satisfactorily. Brusquely, I raised my body and remained seated, resolving to ask Acart to explain some of these things that I did not understand. One of these was that, since I had come to Acart, I still had not seen anybody pull out money to pay for anything. We had just eaten a meal with nearly 1,000 people and nobody had paid anything. With relation to us, I had some kind of explanation, since we had that paper, which could perhaps be a form of requisition by the government, but the rest. To clear up this doubt that I have. What kind of money do you have here? He rose up and sat in the same position as I, right in front of me and said, Money? We have no money here on Acart. I almost fell on my back, stool and all. But how? But how do they buy things, and pay their employees? He gave a sigh and responded. Well, this is a very lengthy affair, but I will try to explain to you. Acart was all divided up into countries and each one had their own type of government and money. That being the case, when they began to feel the problems of overpopulation, those better off commenced to acquire every palm of our land, those who had money obtained and owned more space than they needed to live, while those less favored by fortune were banished to the streets. This resulted in dishonesty, robberies, several wars, and all the rest. Why? Always because of the evil of money. The whole planet was an inferno. A few survived and others in greater number died of hunger, misery and pain. Then when it seemed like all was lost, there emerged the greatest scientist of all time here on Acart. And what did he do? He discovered the means to take advantage of the very energy of the sun. What did that have to do with the money situation? Everything. Once discovered, he and two more of his followers invented the arms which we still have. Was he rich or poor? Very rich, but he spent all his fortunes on investigations and experiments which resulted in benefits for all. In what manner? In the following way. When he succeeded in inventing the neutralizer beam weapon, he told nobody of his invention, but gave adequate proof of what he could do with such a weapon. He threatened all of the countries, that if they could not find a common denominator for their differences, he would use the weapon. He presented a global plan for the salvation of the planet, then all or almost all accepted and obeyed him. His first step was to abolish all the frontiers, making all of Acart only one country. The second was to level all of the cities to equal rights and obligations. To obtain this, he had to get rid of the money, and these automatically ended profits, speculations, robbery, usury and many other things, proceeding from money. Then he must have been some kind of dictator. No, he did not become directly the government, but nevertheless gave ideas to others who then put them into practice. Certainly he depended on the support of some strong country? No, it is as I said. 90% of the population of Acart lived in oppression and misery, and thus they understood his ideas and supported him. The remaining 10% could do nothing, and finally, they accepted also. And as